Hello and welcome to take number 2 of the Thunder 147 Team Titanium review. The first one got garbled, probably because it wasn't good enough, so I'm back on Saturday morning at -5 to get this out to you guys. So these are an 8-inch wide truck with an axle height of 50.83. That's how precise they get. Like honestly, you could just round it up. They're 51. The weight is 294.5, so under 300 grams. And now, with this Savage Crooked Grind mark coming in, I bet you I'm down to 290. So they have a titanium axle, which is what makes it very strong and light. They have a hollow kingpin, and they have the original cast base plate. So this is not a forged one, it's the original one, which is good because the lights that have the forged base plate are always so low, and I just find that too much. That whole 1 millimeter lower just kills me. So I'm riding this right now on a Brandon Beeble Girl deck. It's going well, 1 week in, hasn't died on me yet. And I have 51 millimeter classic Spitfires, 99A. And these wheels are probably the best wheel I could pair this with because they're light, small, and they slide well because of the small contact patch. So I've already filmed a bunch of mediocre, sketchy skating. Here that is. Ooh. Okay, so as sketchy as that was, what I want you guys to note is most of that stuff was all first try or within a few tries. So even all the flip outs. So why would I mention that? Well, that's because these trucks are incredibly light, and I didn't think that there's really much of a benefit to that until I started doing all the flips out of manuals and slides. They're so light, it just goes. I mean, because I've been riding a lot of bigger boards with Indy 149s, and I can eventually accomplish them, but it's a Herculean effort to get those boards to flip around out of a slide or a manual. And this was so easy by comparison that is what I could say is so far the #1 benefit. It's not in an increased pop, because I don't actually get much of an increased pop from the lightness of these trucks. What I do have is an increased agility. That's by far the best feature I've found. It kind of helps me take my skating up to that next level I'd like to take it to. So next, let's get into pinch. Pinch on these trucks is really good. But some of you guys are like, Ben, what is pinch that you keep talking about? It's just like doing a crooked grind or a feeble grind or a 50-50 on a rail. It's just where you're locked right into something. Some people say, well, it's when your wheel touches the board and blah, blah, blah. To me, it's just like how well do the trucks lock in? And because these are low to the board, I've always had a really easy time locking in on these. And they're nice and skinny, so the proportions of these trucks are really nice. I don't have any transition footage in this video, but let me assure you that they're good for that. It's a proportion thing, not a size thing. A lot of people are gonna be like, well, Ben, an Indy 149 is better for a transition. Yeah, if you like bigger boards, but if you actually looked at the proportions, like the height versus width, there's a similarity there that makes them both really good. Getting back to the lightness, there are actually some downsides to having a truck so light. So this morning, it's super windy. And if you do your tricks against the wind, like flip tricks on an 8-inch deck with these really small wheels and this super light board, well, sometimes the wind is gonna catch your board and mess you up. But I have found if you just try and ignore it and don't be a baby, it's okay most of the time. So any sketchiness has more to do with me being heavily bundled up, not warmed up at -5 degrees. Simple tricks are also really satisfying on this setup. Trying to get warmed up enough to take off this bulky jacket. Going against the wind and getting some wind flips there. Oh! Hey, have you guys ever had this? All my wheels have seized up, probably from the cold, except for this one. Weird. Let's see if loosening it makes it any better. Yeah, there we go. You know, that's why I can never understand when people like to have their wheels all snugged up. I find it causes problems. Like when I get temperature changes, my bearings stop rolling properly. So even though I wear my bearings out faster by having a little bit of play, I don't get this problem where everything tightens up too much. These are Modus Blues for the record, and just looking at them, they're definitely starting to deteriorate. Swiss Bones is the way for me to go, and China Reds if I'm feeling thrifty. So just like in my first upload, my face is going numb and it's getting harder to talk. Which means it's time for more ledges. Just a little faffing about, nothing major. You know, the pinch on these is so good, if I knew how to stand up on my grinds, I could. If you timed that one, I guarantee you there's a millisecond longer. Having another one of those existential moments, you guys, where I'm like pushing as hard as I can to this bank in the wind, and I probably tried this about 15 times. I landed a bunch of them, none of them were clean enough for me, and I'm like, what am I doing? 37, it's below freezing, and I'm hurling myself at this bank to flip a board around and land back on it. But as I'm heading towards it, as I get closer, the doubt fades, and I'm like, there's no doubt in my mind this is what I'm here to do. Well, my battery's almost dead, and I only have about 20 more minutes to skate, and I want to mess around on some tricks off camera. So let's get into these one last time. So, kingpin clearance, there isn't any. I told ya! So my trucks get super ground down, the kingpin nut, and it's so cold that I have to keep loosening my trucks until it's almost falling off. So I keep losing my worn down nut and then sticking on my Smith grinds. So these aren't the trucks to buy if you want to do easy Smith grinds. They do work, they just have to be ground in, and temperature changes kind of mess that up. Also, they don't turn that great in this cold weather, but every time it gets above freezing, they're turning good again. Next, onto slides. So because I have these skinny classics on here, I'm not noticing too much friction from the wheels. It's not too bad. I'm keeping the bottom of my ledge waxed. But the thing is, with Thunders, the base plate doesn't stick out much. So you're not hitting that metal and getting that easy slide on the metal. What you're getting is like both your wheels contacting the ledge. So Thunders can be a bit slower, especially with a wider wheel or bigger wheels. But this combination of the 51mm classics on a 147 Thunder is really nice. Okay, and finally, I know there's stuff I missed. I'm sure I couldn't cover everything, but you know what? I do the best I can. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. As always, may your next session be your best session yet, you guys. Get out there, it may be cold, bundle up. I'm in a lot of layers and I'm having a good time. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys are having a good time. Till next one. Video, time, words.